What's going on, everybody? TJ the Lead Sling'n Ginger here, coming at you with another live episode of Sling'n Lead. Joining me, as always, is my friend and compatriot in the firearms industry, Kent Hauer of Green Mountain Defense. Kent, how are you, buddy?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm alive. The sky is the sun is shining. The sky is blue. All is right with the world, my friend.
The sky is shining.
The sky is shining. That's right. That's t-shirt idea. Trademark it. Trademark it. Real quick, guys, as usual, I invite you all to go check out Riton Optics. Those of you that follow the show and my Instagram know that I am a member of their pro staff. So head on over to ritonoptics.com and go check out everything it is that they have to offer. I'm sure you'll find something that you like, be it a red dot variable power optic or just some binos for that avid bird watcher in your family. Head on over to ritonoptics.com. T Ramsey at checkout will get you 15. That's 15% off, you cheapskates, at checkout. So, now that that's out of the way.
Dude, my Uncle Larry is such an avid bird watcher.
Is it really?
No, I don't even have an Uncle Larry, but if I did, that motherfucker would watch some birds.
You look like the kind of guy that would have an Uncle Larry who's an avid bird watcher.
Oh, Jesus. Thank you for the water in my snoot. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So
we got some stuff to talk about.
We do, but before we get into the real serious part of the conversation, what kind of new toys you got lately? I've been seeing some awesome pictures on your Instagram. What did you pick up?
Maybe a Sling'n Tactical Elite.
Oh, finally breaking away from the Glock.
Yeah, it turns out I can shoot that too, kind of, sort of, occasionally. Yeah, dude, hit up the Instagram feed for my first picture. You people out there at Green Mountain Defense, go check out the first 15 rounds I shot out of the Sling'n Tactical. It was ridiculous, and I don't know why I waited so long. It was an awesome gun.
Sure beats that constant low and right for the left-handed shooters in the group.
No, dude, I just adjusted my dot up 2 clicks and over 2 clicks. I'm all set. Everybody thinks I got it dialed in. No, but man, did that gun run great. Been screwing around with the 43X. I've got a video to shoot this weekend on a Tavor, believe that or not.
Oh, Tavor, huh? Going Israeli, huh?
Yes. You have to carry that chamber empty, and then you have to rack it, and then you have to miss with it. So that's Israeli carry for a Tavor. I also like to drive my car thinking that I'll be able to put my seatbelt on before I crash. Amen. What else? Oh, and this weekend we'll probably, if I get both videos shot, because I've got break from school for a week, which I think I will, this weekend will probably end up being the 15,000th round out of the Daniel Defense M4V7.
Excellent. So very few people can say they put that many rounds to the same rifle.
So we got some stuff going on at the range this weekend. We're doing some shooting, doing some classes, and God damn it, that rifle is going to get to 15K, which means hopefully, if I'm not too tired Sunday, I can film a video on it.
You know what would make that rifle better?
I bet I do. I ride on optic. That's right. It would be so much better. Code T Ramsey gets me 50% off, right?
15, 15, you cheapskate. Did you not pay attention to the intro?
I did. I totally did. No, that's a good idea. Right now, I'm running a Surgicon on it that I really like. But I'm open for bribery, so Riton or Vortex or fucking True Glow or anybody can buy me. Really, I'm good. It's just like an Oreo cookie and a glass of milk. I'll run whatever you want me to. I don't care.
Shirt idea for Kent. I am a corporate whore.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and a cheap one at that. I don't even.
Yeah. Just buy me lunch. I'll carry whatever. You got an optic made in China? Sure, I'll okay, just for lunch. Let me supersize that Happy Meal, and I'm good to go.
It'd be really funny if some company saw this and sent me a thing of Oreos. That'd be awesome.
I don't even think that would qualify you as a shill.
Yeah, to be a shill, you have to be making a profit, right? Isn't that part
exactly.
of it? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, speaking of shills, sellouts, and other colloquialisms surrounding the firearms industry nowadays, or at least recently, as most of you, I'm sure, can tell, the title of this particular live feed is "You done messed up, NRA-A-RON."
I love it.
Yeah. So the NRA, certainly no friend of mine as of right now. With that being said, I am going to the NRA annual meeting this weekend. I will be there. I'll see Friday. I'll be there Friday afternoon. I'll probably be spending most of Friday afternoon at the Riton Optics booth. So come on by and say hi. Check out all the awesome stuff that Riton has to offer. But with that, I'll also be like meandering around the exhibitors hall. I don't plan on going to any of the big meetings or all the pomp and circumstance that goes along that Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox like to put on and all that good stuff. But I will be hanging out with the people. So a lot of people ask, you hate the NRA so much or dislike the NRA so much. Hate such a strong and definitive word. You dislike the NRA so much. Why would you bother going? First of all, NRA is not making any money from me being there. Okay. Just, it is what it is. So I'm not selling out to the NRA. But the reason I'm going is because it is a collection, a congregation, if you will, of like-minded individuals that do support the Second Amendment. I think that while I disagree with a lot of the stances that the NRA has taken on many political views and movements as of late, there's still a lot of awesome people that make up the NRA. I've never felt more at home and more welcome than I have in the shooting community. And, if I get an opportunity to go up and hang out with like-minded individuals such as myself, you know what? I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity. So I will be going. I will be filming a bunch of footage and interviews and trying to get my hands on some products for everybody at home that doesn't get a chance to go. And I'll be posting those videos up here on my YouTube channel. But with that being said, Kent, and we're not going to hold it against you, you are a life NRA member.
I am, in fact.
And your position on the matter, or at least your viewpoint, is slightly different than mine.
Yeah, well, okay. So you and I had this conversation, and then like a day and a half later, the lawsuit stuff came out, where now NRA is finally holding ACMAC or Ackerman McQueen to the fire a little bit.
Now, if you could, for the folks at home that aren't familiar with it,
yep.
I know what you're talking about, but what is Ackerman McQueen or ACMAC, and what is the relationship between them and the NRA?
Ackerman McQueen is a marketing and PR firm, I believe, out of Dallas, Texas. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty certain. Somewhere in Texas, either Dallas or Houston or something very Walker, Texas Ranger-y. So they're a big Texas PR firm who, for the last, as long as I've been aware and longer, multiple decades, I believe, have been the NRA's PR firm. So y'all that hate how the NRA sends out letters every 11 minutes, every time a Democrat farts, they send a letter out and ask for, $100 from you, because this one's going to be the big one, right? That Family Guy thing where they're making the joke about what's going to be the big one, and it's always going to be the big one, and it's never the big one kind of thing. It's just a death by 1,000 little cuts. Anyway, so ACMAC is that marketing and PR firm. So the NRA does not have I can't say this because I don't know. The NRA might have a director of marketing, but if they do, that guy is just greenlighting shit for a third-party PR firm. So NRA TV, NRA News, Cam and Company, Colio Noir, Dana Loesch, all these people that are these big public put-out NRA figures are actually hired and recruited and given talking points from Ackerman McQueen. There's nobody at NRA HQ going, hey, you know what, Dana, yell at the Muslims. Like, at least I don't think there is. But ACMAC is certainly putting out the majority of the production quality. They're running the social media. They're doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. To further complicate and confuse this mess, the NRA is actually made up of two organizations. There's the National Rifles Association, and then there's the NRA-ILA, which is the Institute for Legislative Action. So your civilian marksmanship program kind of stuff, your NRA law enforcement training, your NRA instructor stuff, which I'm letting all my shit lapse because their programs are ridiculous and don't help people. your various stuff that they do for shooting ranges and all that activity-based advocacy work that is done physically on the ground is done by the NRA. That is their outreach and rah-rah, good job organization.
Okay, so if we could summarize it, you've got Ackerman McQueen, which is essentially, and this is oversimplifying it, but the public face of the NRA, the pretty face, the poster children of the gun world. Then you've got the NRA-ILA, which is a bunch of lawyers fighting the good fight in respective legislatures across the country.
Yep.
Both at the state, hopefully at the state and federal level. And then you've got the NRA, which focuses on essentially what the original intent and vision of the NRA was, which is safety and education.
I would agree. And more like the Boy Scout troop kind of thing, right?
Right.
So they're out like doing the thing. So the problem becomes when guys have an argument about what the NRA should or should not be doing, the guy will slam his coffee cup on the table and say, God damn it, the NRA should come to, well, they have now, but the NRA should come to Pittsburgh and fight the local Pittsburgh magazine bands. And the shit going on in Pittsburgh is ridiculous. The local municipality is turning Pittsburgh into California 2.0. So the NRA should sue Pittsburgh. The ILA should do that, right? And it's not just mincing words. Another thing people don't know is that their membership money, I'm a life member of the NRA, all that money went to the Boy Scout troop NRA, if you will. If I wouldn't have made donations myself to the ILA, I would have never given the political organization $1. Which means if you see the NRA as this multi-million, if not billion-dollar organization, the ILA is a small line item separate over here on the budget from the greater, grander NRA scheme of things. So,
and truth be told, so this is where my frustration kind of started was you always hear about join the NRA, fight for your rights, join the NRA, be part of the unified voice that fights for your rights.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, well, if they've got all these members and there's all this membership funding coming in, where's the money going? So I'm curious. So I took it on myself. I called them. I was like, hey, if I become a member today, how much of that membership goes towards the ILA? Their response to me at the time was zero, nothing.
Right.
Now I have heard other YouTubers, other social media influencers, right? Guys that are big into the Second Amendment industry have said that I think like 3% is actually of the NRA proper's budget goes to the ILA. I can't really confirm or deny any of that. I can only go off of what the NRA themselves have told me. So, I agree with you 100%. None of your membership dues go to the ILA to actually fight for your rights.
Right. The other issue is that the lobbying organization tends to, I think, pick and choose battles that will win a propaganda war. So the lobbying organization has to be choosy about what fights they want to get into and what fights they don't want to get into. And if you listen to them talk about how they decide to spend their money, it makes sense from a business strategy sense, more than it does from a dyed-in-the-wool constitutionalist amendment is what it is. I want to say the word extremist, but I don't want to play into the mantra. But, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool constitutionalist, you believe that every Second Amendment fight is worth fighting, whether you think you can win it or not, right?
And I'll even yield a little bit to that position. I think that at least the ILA portion of it's right. Legislatively, there are fights you can't win.
Right.
It's just the nature of the beast. It's sad to say that. It pains me to say that, but they're absolutely right. Why waste the money when there are other fights to be had that maybe not necessarily a guaranteed win, but have a better chance of winning in the favor of the Second Amendment. So, everyone talks about where are you in California? NRA, why aren't you in California? Why is California the cesspool for the Second Amendment? That, where all the rights, where shall not be infringed just seems to be like censored out on their copy, right? Let's be real here. The majority of the California state legislature is run by progressive liberals.
So here's what I'm going to
That's not speaking, and I'm not trying to bash all of California. I've got family that lives in California. I know that land mass area is more right-leaning and constitutionally friendly than the rest of California. The downside is it's by population, not land mass. So the liberal states like San Francisco, Los Angeles, all those urban areas that are stereotypically left-leaning have more power.
So here, I'm going to give you a talking point. Now, this is the only place where I agree with the marketing campaign where they say become a member and join to fight for your rights. And then if you don't donate, you're still not helping, except for this. How many gun owners are there in California? 4.2 million. Okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not counting gangbangers and shit. We're counting like gun owners.
Yeah, upstanding, non-prohibited persons, Joe and Jane Q citizen. Right.
Right. 4.2 mil. How many NRA members are there?
Oh, probably less than a couple 100,000, if that.
5 million.
You're talking about in the entire NRA.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
There's 5 million people in the whole.
Sorry, I thought we were still talking about just California.
Right. There's 5 million members in the NRA. There's 4.2 million gun owners in California.
Mm-hmm.
If every one of those people in California who was bitching and a typing going, where are you in California? Where are you on my rights? Where are you for me? It's like, well, bro, you're either in the minority or you're shit lapsed and you don't realize it. Because if the NRA could take all the 300 million gun owners in this country and claim them as members, and when they walked into Congress, they could say, hey, me and 2.9 million and 999 million of my closest friends ain't putting up with this shit no more. And they could back the stats and they could hold up the register and go, look, those people are who I represent. This would be a different conversation. This is not an idea that's germane to me. A gentleman named Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. I don't love the show, but Tom Gresham has been saying this shit for as long as I've been listening, 5 years or more. So some of the times I do have a bit of a hypocrisy argument with guys who say, I wish the NRA would blah, 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 and they're not a $40 member. Like, okay, man, I get that you don't want the bullshit mail. I get that you feel like more of your dollars should go to better parts of the organization. I happen to agree with that. I get that they don't do things perfectly the way you would like. I think if they would take the money that they spend on Ackerman and McQueen and come up with a realistic marketing campaign and then, shuffle the ACMAC money into lobbying and legislation, I think we'd be better off. I think a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you also don't get to vote on what the Rotary Club does if you're not a member, right? So you can bitch from outside the organization all you want. One thing I disagree vehemently with is there's kind of a elitist good old boy thing going on, because if you didn't shell out the $1,000 to be a life member, FYI, I didn't either. I got them when they were on sale. They did a thing when it was $500 a piece, so my wife and I both got one. Anyway, point being, if you didn't shell out big money for your membership, you don't get to vote on operations. I think that's atrocious. I think every member should get to vote on operations, right?
Because I can certainly. I mean, the name of the game, the recurring theme you guys are going to hear tonight is hypocrisy. It's hypocritical for the NRA to take on the position of, well, why would we come fight for you if you're not willing to be a member?
Right. But
at the same time, why would I become a member if there is a limit on the voice you're actually going to let my membership have.
Right. So we've got these two. Well, you're married. I'm married. Yeah. You ever had an argument for 45 minutes about the dishes, and we forgot why the hell we were arguing about the dishes 45 minutes ago, right?
Something like that. I usually just stop arguing and admit I'm wrong and just go do the damn dishes, but sure.
All right, maybe not dishes, but you know what I mean. You're in this argument, and at a certain point, you're saying, well, if you would just listen more, everything would be fine. And the other side's going, well, if you would just talk more, I'd listen more. And it's like, what the fuck did you just, you're just doing this constantly. I think if we could bridge the gap and get gentlemen like yourself, guys our age, in your 30s, even guys in their 40s or in their 50s, to get to be life members, so they get to vote guys.
To be clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have to be a life member to vote.
It's either life member
or 5 years.
Yeah, it's consecutive years. 5 or 3. But even still, I mean, if you paid the money, you get a vote. The minute you're voted into the Rotary Club, you get a vote on everything the Rotary Club does. Like,
right.
Until you lapse, and then you don't get no vote no more. Just things like that really kind of bother people about the NRA. And also this Ackerman McQueen marketing bullshit that plays to our grandparents and our parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very fear-mongery. It's very, it's the Muslims' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's this person's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. There's always some evil tyrant coming to take your rights. Newsflash, there is an evil tyrant coming to take your rights. But at a certain point, you got to believe that maybe they're not a supervillain. Maybe they're just poorly educated or not totally agreeing with you. And, at face value, at least you should give them the benefit of the doubt. If you start every conversation about gun rights with somebody on the other side who says, I don't believe you should be allowed to have that, whatever that is, right? I don't believe you should be able to have a suppressor. If I answer that with, well, fuck you, don't step on my snake. Well, all right, man, congratulations. But you've done nothing to educate anybody. You've done nothing to further the conversation.
And if anything else, you've made other owners look bad.
Right.
That person who has that, counterpoint to our position on the matter is now based on that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's been time I've tried to, and Kent, you know this very well. I've tried to have conversations with people on the other side. Absolutely. As soon as I get met with that, you don't care about the children, you can go screw yourself and die in a fire. And then they block me and shut me down. And I'm just trying to have a legitimate conversation with them. I don't go stir shit in other groups. I don't. I'm open to have the conversation. Other than that, the frustration and hatred and anger just ain't worth my time.
Right.
That being said, I sure as hell ain't going to try to keep. There's a limit to how many times I'm going to reach across to try to talk to you. If you're just going to pull that emotional card and try to shut me down. Yeah,
I agree. Except for you is not you. You is a couple million people, right? So if we could step outside of the labeling and have a conversation, much like you and I have the same goal in mind. A little bit we disagree on how to reach it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can come on here like adults and have this conversation perfectly fine and disagree with each other, and that works. And I mean, like, it's your channel, right? Like, you could totally mute me and throw me the hell off of it. And you're a computer hacker, so you could like log into my shit and show my pictures of my.
That's not how it works, but okay.
Yeah, you just could like Google my iPhone and I'd be fucked, right? So
just download this file I'm going to send you.
Yeah, okay, we'll do.
Yeah, it's a picture of a puppy, I promise.
Natural male enhancement. Whoops.
Who doesn't like corgis? Come on, man.
Yeah, but I mean, point being that if the NRA and ACMAC, back to my original, that was a long way around the track. If Ackerman McQueen would stop alienating half of the country every time they put out information, then we wouldn't have the problems we have having these conversations in the first place. Like, I'm sorry, like, yeah, okay, so there are some extremists in every culture, right? But that doesn't
that's the exception to the
rule,
not the rule.
Right. That doesn't mean that every Muslim that's in this country is a reason for you to own a Taurus judge. Like,
right.
Or like, stop. We just need to stop with that crap. That's not realistic. Then again, there are some real and existential threats to mine and your family, and I have every right to be able to be protected. And I'm going to, and I hate to tell you this, but I'm gonna, whether it's legal or not. At a certain point, what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a lot of people who are now felons or somehow criminals, right?
I mean, we've already seen that happen with the bump stock ban.
Ask them
with the magazine ban in New Jersey, where, by the way, zero.
Yes, zero. Yes.
Round of applause for my brothers and sisters in New Jersey that said, fuck the man. But anyway, I've got some other issues too. And I'll say this, at least, now keep in mind, I don't pay that much granular attention to what occurs on, the at the face of the NRA, right? I know who Dana Lash is. I saw her get eviscerated at that town borderline lynch mob after the Sandy Hook shooting. Not Sandy Hook, Parkland. Yeah. I saw her get eviscerated at that. Just God bless her. I don't know if I could have put up with that, but I see the things that she does. I see the things that Coleon Noir does, and I do have to give respect where respect's due. As long as it's legitimate and not a made-for-TV drama, I've seen him bring on people who were anti-gun, and I think he's done a great job reaching across that proverbial aisle, so to speak, and educating people to become new shooters. Maybe they become gun owners themselves, maybe not, but they've certainly got a better understanding of what it means to be self-reliant in defending, being able to defend oneself and your family.
Yeah.
So I certainly see that, but as far as all the other advertising, the fear-mongering crap, I don't pay that any mind. I don't pay it any attention. But I do know that the NRA at large is guilty of that. I've seen, just like Ackerman McQueen, they do all the poster children of the NRA. I've seen Wayne LaPierre, the president of the NRA, and Chris Cox himself come out and participate in that crap. I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the problem,
it may not be Muslim extremists. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it may not be Muslim extremists, but it's definitely, the tyrannical legislator or politician or whatever, the big bad boogeyman. So
right. We and this is very much stems into identity politics as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. You're either right or you're left. You're either straight or you're gay. You're either this or you're that. But we all have to be segregated into some little microcosm of some group so that we can be controlled and made to hate one another and fight all the time. And, I'm not, and this ain't no crop circle either, and I'm not singing Kumbaya. I'm just saying there's people from all kinds of cultures and all over the place that I very much enjoy spending time with. And there's dickheads. And there's people in my culture that I very much enjoy spending time with. And there's dickheads. Like, it's not a because you're this, you're intolerant, or you hate that you don't care about the children. Like, that's nonsense, dude. I mean, for people who don't know, number one, and I shouldn't speak for TJ, but like, he's got a social media presence in the gun world too. I know I do.
Albeit a small one, but yeah, it's a presence.
No, dude, you do. I get on my business Facebook page messages every time some jackwagon son of a bitch pussy pulls a gun and kills a bunch of kids. It's my fault. That's it's fucking bullshit. I'm sorry to write on for my mouth right now. I shouldn't be like that, but man, I'm telling you what, that's just, we got to knock it off with that crap. Any more than if some girl on a college campus gets raped, we shouldn't immediately beat the drum and say that's Nancy Pelosi's fault, right? Like, because that girl didn't have a gun, therefore, there's so much other circumstantial stuff that goes on that we can't possibly correlate every little thing every time. But we can't. The problem is, in this business, The minute something like that happens, the wagons get circled and ACMAC starts throwing grenades from inside the wagons before we even have information. We have no, it's been 11 hours from Parkland, and we've got NRA people making statements. You know what your statement should be? Either zip your lip, say nothing, or my family and those I love will be praying for your family and those that you love. I'm sorry for this tragedy. And that should be the end of it.
Yeah, and
there should be no political messaging.
That's guilty on both sides.
That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, just like on the opposite side,
Yep.
Not the headline hasn't even stopped running yet, and you've got people on the left attacking the inanimate object that was wielded by a bullied psychopath, right?
Yeah.
So
who's over medicated and underparented and totally been failed by the school system, and the list goes on and on.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, now granted, again, I'm speaking for me here, but I get what you're saying, and I agree with that. I think that there comes a time to have those arguments and for everyone to get in their respective corners and fight that out.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that'll take that position of, well, you didn't come out and make a statement immediately after this happened. You're condoning this action.
Right.
No, that's not true. I have class, and I'm going to let the tragedy subside and let the emotion subside before I start even trying. It's not about me or my position. It's about the victims and their families.
Right. Exactly that.
So let's all just shut our mouth. Let's let this tragedy subside. Let's let the healing process begin before we all start taking up our sides. You know what I mean? And it's about having that class. And I think there's a lot to be said. At least I notice when, one side comes out or one organization comes out and starts their political campaign against whatever the situation was. And then there's the people that, okay, you might not have made a statement yet, but you showed that class, and okay, now that everything subsided, now you're making your statements, now you're defending your position. Bravo.
Right.
Thank you for not being a douchebag, right?
So one person who I want to give credit to in this regard is John Correa of Active Self-Protection. The YouTube channel where, like, every time there's a gas station robbery in Brazil, this dude does, like, the John Madden routine. John, if you ever should see this, please get a telestrator, and just, like, that'd be the awesomest thing ever. But anyhow, John, besides his awesome YouTube videos, has a really good social media presence. I follow and am friends with him both on his personal and his business stuff. And he has what he calls the 72-hour rule. So 1 million people hit him up about, I'm going to say Parkland, for example, because we both said it. And he'll write 72-hour rule in effect. And that's all he'll say.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. And then 72 hours
Active
later.
Self-Protection is one of my favorite YouTube channels.
Yeah.
He is one of the few channels that I actually have the notification bell on for.
Yeah, man.
That dude puts out some great information and a perfect example, in my opinion, of what class looks like. The guy has got class, and he is a professional. Hats off to him. So, but with that, let's talk about some of the other shadows that have been cast across the NRA.
All right, let's do it.
Right. So, their seemingly anti-gun position on a lot of recent events. So, I'm not even going to pull the card and go back in history with all the Gun Control Act and the Nix background check and all that other crap. I'm not even going to.
No, I think we should. I was going to. If you
I'll tell you what. We'll talk about that. I'll let you bring that part up.
Okay.
But I want to focus on the more recent thing. So the bump stock ban, right? NRA came out and said, hey, we think the ATF should review it. We had a bunch of the NRA fanboys saying it's chess, not checkers. Well, the NRA seems like they're playing tic-tac-toe still. They came out and gave that inch where the government took a mile, and we ended up with a bump stock ban. Now, sure, bump stocks, completely ridiculous. I'll never own one, never have owned one. Whatever. It's a gadget. Whatever. Have fun with it. Okay, gotcha. It's the principle of the matter. And we even saw it firsthand where the NRA said, we think the ATF should review the regulatory statutes on bump stocks. What did that turn into?
Yeah.
Competition triggers. Jerry Michelick's finger. God knows I can't. I'm going to go write a serial. If I run into Jerry Michelick at the NRA annual meeting, I'm going to write a serial number on his finger.
Yeah.
But the reason that I have problems with the way the NRA has been doing business and taking on these positions, can I understand and see where they are coming from? Yes, absolutely. I'm not stupid. But at the same time, it seems like the NRA has forgotten one of the key principle or key core beliefs of its members and people in the community at large. We don't trust the government. And that's not some tinfoil hat wearing bullshit.
Dude.
Psycho in his basement talking, although I am in my basement, oddly enough. But it's that simple. You give them an inch and they will take a mile. That whole act of let's compromise, that means both sides get something out of it.
Right.
And that's not what's happening. Like stop helping is what kind of comes out. Right. NRA, just stop helping for 5 minutes.
So
and then fast forward to more recent news, you've got Chris Cox, the leader of the ILA, coming out in support of red flag laws, which are not only a violation of the Second Amendment, but the Fifth Amendment as well. And shit like that don't sit right with me, brother. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So can you provide any type of insight or clarity as to what the hell's going on with that?
I can, but first I have to share my screen. Well, never mind. That ain't gonna work. But it on my other monitor is Ralph Wiggum. I'm helping.
Yeah. We're familiar with the meme.
Okay. So
the doctor said my nose would quit bleeding if I just kept my finger out of there.
Right. So here's the scoop. And I'll do a little bit of history for you.
Yeah, by all means, man.
And I'm doing this more for like TJ knows most of this shit. So when I say I'm doing it for him, what I'm really doing it for is all y'all who might read this stuff. Like, don't take this as me like professoring to my ginger friend, because that's not what I'm doing.
Hey, that's our word.
Right. Sorry. Don't mean to mansplain to my ginger buddy. Like, that's pretty fucked up. Any hooser. Those of y'all that don't know, the NRA has not always been a gun rights organization. The NRA has always been a gun-related organization. But the truth of the matter is the NRA was started by a bunch of Northern generals who couldn't figure out why those Southern farm boys outshot them. And it turns out like Southern farm boy got to shoot to live and got to shoot to keep the coyotes away from the herd, right? So the NRA was originally a training and education organization with a pro-gun bent and component to it, but was much more safety, education, and training focused than it ever was politics. In 1977, at the NRA annual meeting in Cincinnati, there was a bit of a revolt, and what came of it was turning the organization more political. But throughout the years, starting in 1934 and coming up to as recently as a week ago, the NRA has a history of the friendly word is compromise. Those on the far, far, far side of the spectrum would say that the NRA is not even a pro-gun organization, that they're like a shadowy backdoor Democrat organization that was set up to fleece the dumb rednecks and take our money and get us to agree to losing our guns. I've literally heard that argument, so that's not me being pedantic or funny. But the truth is that the NRA has made some, what I'm going to say, short-sighted decisions with regard to whatever you want to call it, compromise, or, well, if we just give them our pinky finger, they won't take our thumbs. Oh, well, if I know he wants to rape me, but if I just give him a little, yeah, exactly right. Whatever. And I mentioned this earlier, it's the death by 1,000 cuts. the NRA has always had to play defense instead of offense. We've never been able to come out. We thought with Trump, and it's dumb because you can't, the president only has so much influence.
As history has told us, more gun control's been passed under a republic, quote unquote, Republican administration than any Democrat.
The thing that Trump did give us is he gave us 2 Supreme Court justices that will outlast his tenure. That should be beneficial to gun rights in the future, so long as the cases come before them in the first place. But the problem with that is that requires some dude like, I don't know, Kent or TJ to decide that he wants to sue the federal government and fight in court for a bunch of years to overturn a wrong that's already been done to him in the first place. Even that shit is still defense.
Absolutely.
We've never really been able to go on offense. So if you're playing defense all the time, you're not trying to win the game. All you're ever doing is trying not for it to be a shutout, right? And that's what they do. They're just afraid that one of these days we're going to go full New Zealand and they're going to be at the helm and it's going to be their fault. So what they do is no one needs a bump stock, I guess, really. We can see why. Well, gee, maybe the ATF should take another look. Rather than just coming out and saying, look, an infringement is an infringement and is an infringement. And if you guys don't like the laws, you should change them. Hi, Karma. Hey, puppy. My puppy just came to say hi. If they won't take that stance, then eventually what's going to happen is we're just going to lose our rights a decade at a time. And next decade will be 10-round mags, and next decade will be muzzle devices, and next decade. And eventually things will just get to the point where they've made it too difficult to be a gun owner. Red flag laws, all these different little encroachments and infringements, that really negatively affects the hobbyist gun owner, right? If you're a dude who's I'm real into fishing, I'm real into hunting, I'm real into motorcycles, I'm real into shooting, and they make shooting shitty on you, what are you going to do? You're just going to ride your motorcycle more, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, here's the problem with that. Those dudes aren't dyed-in-the-wool gun rights advocates. I mean, it makes me barf. I drive around and I see the Browning stickers and the Ruger stickers and then this and that on every truck, and I think to myself, dude, what have you done to help?
Right.
Where you at, bro? Because we're not an organization of 300 million. We're an organization of 5 million. And there's other rights groups out there, and all these dudes that bash their keyboards on YouTube are always, that's why I'm a member of. And I'm like, are you really? Have you even put in the time to do that? Because you didn't put in the time to spell the word member right. So
yeah, I can only imagine what the emails to their congressman or state legislator look like.
Right.
But at the same time, man, I mean, so I get what you're saying. And yeah, it's going to be death by 1,000 cuts. But why does it seem that the NRA is one of the people holding a blade?
I think because they're playing defense and they're trying to cater to their, and this is where I'm.
Let me see if I can summarize it real quick. I think I get what you're saying. They're so used to playing defense that they have degraded to the act of caving and pandering to the talking points of the left to maintain some level of favor.
Yeah, because the bottom line is really this, is that their membership, if you look at, I as a life member, I'm probably, I can't say I'm the youngest NRA life member. There was a time when I could have made that argument.
And you've got plenty of guys out there that are buying their kids life memberships, 18, 19 years old,
right.
It's
right. But not a lot. Your average NRA life voting member is in his white 70s, okay? That's who they're playing to. They're playing to your grandfather and my grandfather. They are not playing to you. They're not playing to me. They're damn sure not playing to women. They're not playing to any ethnic minorities. They're not playing to anybody who doesn't absolutely 100% follow the Bush Republican viewpoint, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Bush Republican viewpoint. I believe a lot of those things too. But I also believe that your life is your damn business, and I don't really care what you do with it most of the time, as long as you're not infringing on mine. They're not coming after you and I because we're not the ones writing the checks. Imagine that. Right. If you follow the money, your boy with his Pardini shotgun, who's up there on the skeet range, who shoots 500 rounds of skeet a year and talks with his friends about cast on and cast off and this and that and everything else, that is your NRA life member, not your dude with a freaking Sons of Liberty short-barreled rifle and a dead air suppressor.
No, I can understand that.
Guy. So if you're the dead air suppressor, SOLGW, SBR guy, and you're going, where's the NRA for me? I hate to say it, but one of you is going to have to reach across the line and love the other one first. Somebody's going to have to reach over. And we've given them 5 decades, and they haven't shown a propensity to do that. Maybe we need to make that attempt before we decide that we're ready to give the gun rights fight to the second or third or fourth or 11th most effective lobbying organization instead of the first. That's all I'm trying to say.
And since you actually make some very salient points there, buddy, because I'd be willing to bet if you walked up to any, let's say 60 plus member of the NRA and said, hey, how do you feel about red flag laws? And you explain to them exactly what that means. I bet you they'd probably be like, well, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I think that if someone's a danger, they shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. That's probably exactly what they would say. But you got guys like you and me who are in our 30s, and we're a little bit more set in what constitutional rights mean, right? So, yeah, I could certainly see your point, and I think you've made some very salient arguments, and I always appreciate your input. But with that, because we are getting kind of short on time, I do want to wrap up with this. And my question is that I think while I can agree with you and I appreciate your input, do you think that the NRA has stepped on their proverbial pecker here recently?
It'd have to be long enough for him to step on, unfortunately.
Point taken.
I really think that their influence has narrowed as opposed to widened. And that's my concern.
Right. So my question to you is, since obviously you're clearly not pleased with the way the NRA has been conducting things lately.
Nope.
Is there anything that the NRA can do to regain favor?
Yeah, the John Patton question, right?
Yep, absolutely. By the way, if you guys, for those of you watching this channel, if you are not subscribed to The Gun Collective, also another one of my favorite channels on YouTube, John Patton and his crew over there do a fantastic job putting out gun-related news and events, product reviews, and so forth. A real positive advocate, I think, for the Second Amendment, and actually really, really adept at progressing this conversation. So he did post it on his Instagram, so I'm kind of stealing it now, John. I'm sorry ahead of time. But since the NRA has pissed a few people off, Kent, I want to pose that question to you and give you an opportunity to answer it here. Is there anything the NRA could do to regain your trust and confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're short on time, but I want to say this. I have recently trained on the range with some dudes that work for NRA corporate that are you and me. A dude our age who's in charge of their magazine editorial stuff, who does great work and who is a shooter and who is running the shit out of his, I think, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 and rocking and rolling, right? He was in a class with Dave Spalding and myself, and great dude. There, I believe, are good, strong, 100% dyed-in-the-wool advocates in that organization. And then, like anything else, I believe there are some people who are there to collect a paycheck and who like their $600,000 balloon, retirement things. So here's what I'm going to say. There's a couple things they could do. Number one, ACMAC has got to go. They need to internalize their own marketing and their own messaging. Nothing should be going outside the organization unless it's being voted on by the board and by the management team. End of story. That stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah. So real quick, a side question here. And this is an important point to the conversation at hand. The NRA Board. You know, we talked about voting, I think, a lot, but we didn't really cover the NRA Board, which is what a lot of people vote for. So I have heard, and I have no evidence to back this up, but I have heard that the NRA Board of Directors is essentially powerless because of the way everything's written, that there is override authority by Wayne LaPierre and all the other upper echelons of the organization. How true is that?
I think it's true to a point, but I think if you look at who the people on the board are, a lot of them are celebrities and or politicians who are trying to use it as a furtherance for a career, as opposed to trying to be there to do the good work, right? You mentioned Gun Collective. Adam Kraut from Legal Brief and from Gun Collective is an attorney here at Prince Law Firm in Pennsylvania, and he has previous gun industry experience. So they run a firearms based law firm, right? Firearms industry consulting group. Who better to put on the board of directors at a group like that? So we've been trying all the hell I've done is shared some stuff and filled out a form, right? But he's been trying to get on for the last 3-4 years. And
I got to give you this. The guy's got tenacity, if nothing else.
Right. So there's a guy that wants to be there, wants to go to the meetings, wants to show up, wants to aggressively and staunchly support our rights. And then whatever, I'm going to call some dude out. You got Ted Nugent, who's like, rock and roll, killing deer. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Cool. I like doing that stuff too. But you know what? Like, show up to a meeting. Show up to one meeting. If you look at the voting stuff, like absent. No bueno. You can't run an organization like that. You can't. And you can't expect your board to have any teeth if they're not there. If they were all there and they all gave a damn and they all were listening and they went, hey, that don't sound right. What did we say about Muslims? Oh, wait, maybe we should not do that no more. What do you mean we can't tell you not to do that no more? Then there would at least be a fight.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I do have to say this, at least some of those board members that I'm sure probably also show up absent. And I'd be interested to see the numbers of how many do, or I don't even care if there's names associated with it. But if there's 100 board members and only 10 of them ever show up to vote on things, I can certainly understand why there's a preconceived notion that the NRA Board of Directors has no power.
Right.
Can't exact change if you're not a united front, even in your own, command and control center. But it's kind of disheartening because every time you see, Ted and so many others get on TV or, you see interviews with him. I thought Ted did a beautiful job shutting down Pierce Morgan. Almost had that butthole in tears. It was hilarious. I broke out popcorn and almost started selling tickets. Then I realized it was free. But anyway, I thought it was a beautiful thing. Where's that energy in helping and fulfilling your responsibilities as a board of, a member of the board? Right. So understood. Yeah. So anyway.
I had no problem with Ted Nugent if they would internalize their marketing and put out Ted to go do that stuff and let him go do that stuff. Hell yeah. But you're not a board member, dude. You're a board member. You're not a board member. You're a board member. You're falling asleep in a board meeting because that ain't you. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm going to take some time to answer this question myself. Here on the channel. We'll close out here shortly. But so yes, and when I originally responded to the Gun Collective's question on Instagram, I set some pretty high standards. I'm going to take a moment to retract some of those standards. One of them was naturally repeal the NFA. Nothing would speak volumes to me more than repealing a major form of infringement legislation or infringing legislation. For those that don't know what the NFA is, I invite you to go look it up. National Firearms Act of 1936 covers suppressors, short-barreled rifles, and all that other fun stuff. All the really fun stuff. But that was obviously met, and I've heard it from several other people that that's a very, very lofty goal. That we are light years away from anything like that happening. So I'll double down with a lower bet first. I'd like to see them recant and retract their statements supporting any type of legislation that is an infringement. Moving forward, let's the past is the past. Let's tackle that another time. Retract your statement supporting red flag gun laws and admit you screwed up. You done messed up. Admit you done messed up with the bump stock ban and realize that, yeah, if we try to give the government an inch, they're going to take a mile. The second thing I'd like to see them do is actually dial down at least the NRA. I'm not talking about the ILA. ILA needs to keep doing their thing. The NRA itself needs to dial down on the advertising in general. And they need to focus on rallying, because in the Second Amendment community, there is too much infighting.
Mm-hmm.
They need to use those numbers that they have, which granted I will say is more than Firearms Policy Coalition and the Gun Owners of America for now. And actually, let's work internally. The NRA is an umbrella that we can all at least like come together under and get our story straight.
Yep.
You shouldn't go from one Second Amendment person to another and get two different answers on what shall not be infringed means.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So that is going to be my position. That is what I would like to see happen for the NRA to regain my trust and confidence. With that being said, based on the stuff that you've, the answers that you've given me today, you're a resource that I trust and a true friend, I believe.
Yeah,
and I'm going to actually take some time while I'm at the NRA annual meeting to talk to some other NRA members and see if I can make some more sense out of it. See if I can kind of get them to see where I'm coming from.
There's going to be a lot of smart people there, man. I mean, I know what I know based on research and time and education. I got to tell you what, guys like Patton, guys like Kraut, there's dudes there that have put a lot of time and effort and energy. We're not the first YouTube live stream or first YouTube channel or first YouTube people to sit down and go, how do we fix the NRA, right? So these guys have been at it for a minute, and there's a lack of transparency, and I think that's really the biggest problem.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The bottom line is, while you and I can sit here and speculate and be pissed off all day long, there's a lot going on that we don't have visibility on.
Right. And as a member, you ought to.
Yeah, and I am certainly not of the mindset that the NRA needs to be burnt to the ground.
No, and I think that's part of the culture today is, if something's not doing, just think about, guys that write reviews on stuff, and they, well, this water hose made a real terrible baseball bat. Okay, well, I'm going to write a review and say how terrible of a baseball bat it is. And these guys bitch and bitch and bitch. The internet culture today is so negative and so hostile that anytime any person or organization does anything that you remotely dislike, instead of like, wow, I guess I don't agree with them on that point, it's murder them and their children so their spawn will never see this earth again.
Yeah,
dude, where did that come from?
The salted earth mentality. It's just, yeah. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that's gonna jump on that bandwagon where it needs to be burnt to the ground. Do I think they need a major enema and an overhaul? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the NRA's been around too long, and there's too much of a solid foundation that can be reorganized to actually do what gun owners of today, those of us in our 30s and 20s, there's too much that can be rearranged to make it actually as a true Second Amendment organization, which we all hope it to be.
Absolutely.
So
I'm sorry.
The one thing is, so I am an active member of GOA and Firearms Policy Coalition. With that being said, I would encourage everybody, not just Kent, not just you, obviously not just me and my family and so forth, but all of those of you that might stumble across this video, don't rest on your laurels for any organization to get out and fight for you. if you're not good, if you're going to be one of those people that understands that if you give the government an inch, they're going to take a mile, don't outsource your ability and your right to fight against that legislation yourself. I wrote 4 letters, 4 emails directly to my state legislature last week, to my state senator, talking about not only some other issues, but primarily 3 of those 4 messages were about gun legislation. Get off your ass and actually get in the fight. If you're not even going to do that, I don't care what membership you get, which company you back, whatever. If you're not going to get out there and fight for yourself, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. And it's that simple.
So I just want to end it with one more thing that bothers me, and then we can wrap it up.
Sure.
Can you imagine the vitriol and the claiming of victory that the other side would do if the NRA was to actually fail or cease to exist?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you imagine the memery and the level of, mom's demand and we beat the NRA, we beat that would be.
I'll do you one better. I can explain this really quickly. It would be the exact same, if not more, of a celebration if the extreme right side, the religious right side, shut down Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, it's more teetering on the side of it would be a grander celebration because, as we all know from the recent election results, the left has this tendency to get quite animated when they think they can celebrate a victory or they get pissed off or something.
Yeah.
So when you can't wear a red hat down the street without, fear of getting your ass kicked, it's a bit of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But Kit, as always, man, I appreciate you coming out and joining me this Wednesday night. Look forward to having you again. Definitely gonna have a live show next week to cover. Actually, nope, can't do it next week. It'll be the following week. Next week I will be at a company function, so I'll be tied up with that. But please join us the week after next for the next installment of Sling'n Live. Actually, Kent, I think we're going to talk about pocket pistols and the resurgence of the small guns. So after you just did some fantastic reviews on the 43 and the 43X from Glock, I think it deserves its own installment. So we're going to talk about that when we come back week after next. Until then, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in. If you like what Kent and I are doing here, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We'd always love to hear from you. We do respond to the comment section, so please feel free to comment and post your questions below. Until then, God bless you all, and get out and shoot.